I call this meeting of Sylvania City Council for March 4th, 2024 to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fry?
Here.
Mr. Hanson?
Here.
Mr. Hanem?
Here.
Mr. McCann?
Here.
Mr. Richardson?
Here.
Ms. Dow? Here. Mrs. Westfall?
Here.
All 7 members of City Council are present, therefore a quorum does exist. Welcome you all to our City Council meeting this evening. And I invite you to join us in our Pledge of Allegiance, this meeting led by Ms. Stout.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda item 3 is additions to the agenda. I would like to note that ordinance 39, 2024 was just distributed to council, and Mr. Hanem's committee may add it. Also distributed tonight was a copy of the First Amendment to the Joint Economic Development District Agreement. That's in agenda item 18. Mr. Fry.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Members of City Council.
Mr. Mayor, you've already had it. I missed that. You already had ordinance number 39.
I just added it to item 20A.
20A, okay,
Decision report.
got it.
We'll just put it right there. If that's all right with you.
Yes, that's fine.
Hearing no other additions from members of City Council, Mr. Sanford.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to give an update on the autism training through the city, and also an update on the naturalization ceremony that we were invited to participate in.
All right, autism report would be 22, 23 will be naturalization ceremony.
Thank you.
Chief Miller.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schroyer.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
And Mr. Shaw.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Shaw is here, Mr. Aller is present, Mr. Aller is out ill this evening. With that, can I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and the agenda is approved as amended. Agenda item 4 is approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting on February 20th. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move approval of the meeting minutes for the council meeting of February 20th, 2024 as submitted.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve those meeting minutes as submitted. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and those February 20th, 2024 meeting minutes are approved. I think we are going to pass by, no, we are ready to go with a proclamation presentation for the Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. There is someone here, okay. All right, I will come out there with you. Very nice you could join us. And why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Michelle Meyerholtz. I have the honor of being the superintendent for the Lucas County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Nice to see you. We have a proclamation for you here tonight for this special month, and I will read it. Whereas the mission of the Lucas County Board of Developmental Disabilities is improving life so that individuals with developmental disabilities reach their full potential. And whereas life stands for their core values, L, living life, I, inclusion, F, freedom of choice, and E, everyone has worth. And whereas the history of this organization, LCBDD, is one of initiative, advocacy, and leadership. Their current programs evolved from early classes taught by Josina Lott in her dining room, very famous name, starting in 1938, and she eventually opened the Lott Day School in East Toledo in 1945. And whereas in 1962, voters in Lucas County authorized the first levy in Ohio history to support the education of children with intellectual disabilities. And whereas since 1987, March has been recognized as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month and is a nationwide event that aims to raise awareness about the inclusion of people with developmental disabilities and highlight their value, rights, and aspirations of those individuals. Now, therefore, I, Craig A. Stow, Mayor, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2024 as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month in the city of Sylvania. Mr. Fry would like to make a few comments.
I had the pleasure and honor of serving on the Lucas County Board of Developmental Disabilities for 12 years. And so this is near and dear to my heart. I had the honor to be president of that board for 6 years. And there's a lot of wonderful things that that organization does. If you are not familiar with it, I would suggest that you reach out to Michelle or Nabil to get a better sense. There's 5,000 individuals or more in Lucas County that are served by that organization, and the economic impact of bringing those dollars for back from the federal government back into our community is material and significant for many, many people in this area. So I just wanted to take a moment, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the opportunity to speak in proclamation for March's Disability Awareness Month. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fry. Thank you for being here. As agenda item 6, we're going to have a levy endorsement presentation for the Lucas County Mental Health and Recovery Services Board by Michael Carter and Scott Silak.
Well, I guess I'm solo today.
Okay.
Thank you for allowing me a few minutes to request your endorsement of issue 8 for mental health and recovery services. But before I get started, I do want to recognize Miss Michelle Meyerholtz. She's being rather bashful. I don't know if you know this or not, but she was just appointed on the 26th. We work very well together. Can't say enough about her and the positive things that they do. So really want to just acknowledge her and appreciate her. So here I am, issue 8. It's on the March 19th ballot, primary ballot. It is a 1 mil additional levy that will cost a homeowner of a house valued at $100,000, $35 a year annually. But there's a caveat to that. The caveat is we have an expiring 0.5 mil levy that actually consumes about $12 that you're already covered paying. So it's really the net gain is, or the net pay is $23 additional, less than $2 more a month. So the levy will generate about $9.1 million. It will increase our revenue by $5.3 million over the current. The money that is being brought in is designated to support additional youth services, additional services to seniors, and additional services to our criminal justice population. Specifically, we're talking about those in correctional settings, the Lucas County Detention Center. A little bit about the Mental Health Recovery Services Board. You may not know, there's 18 board members. They're all Lucas County residents. They represent the entire county by race and gender. They are responsible to make decisions related to evaluating what needs are in our community, planning for those needs, and then funding those needs, and then collaborating, which is why I wanted to reference our friends at DD. We take that job very seriously. We actually have 3 levies currently. And then if we are able to swap out I'll say when we are able to swap out the 1 mil for the 0.5 mil, we'll still have 3. They each run 10 years. In 22, 24, and 28 would be our next time on the ballot. You may not know this, but we fund over 500 units of housing for individuals with substance use disorders, individuals with mental health disorders in particular. We fund emergency shelters. There are 26,000 Lucas County residents that receive treatment services through our network of care. And I'd like that number to sink in a little bit. 26,000, that is an unduplicated number. It's roughly about 6% of all Lucas County's population. There's a tremendous amount of work that is being done in behavioral health. We employ, through our network of care, we have 27 different organizations. They in turn employ just under 1,600 employees. So not only are we a system of care, but we also are a pretty big employer when you start to think about it. Naturally, the services that we provide impact our workforce, not only a physically healthy workforce, but a mentally healthy workforce is a productive workforce. We have a great relationship with law enforcement in our community, and we provide crisis intervention team training, which I'm positive the city of Sylvania participates in on a regular basis. But the other thing that we do that you probably are aware of is we have a significant presence in our school systems, providing prevention education services. And a number of our guests here today are representing our prevention programming, the Sylvania Prevention Alliance. But we also have the Center of Hope, and Unison also does work within the Sylvania school systems. We take our responsibility of financial stewardship very seriously. We have accountability measures built into every contract, and if you want to question that, all you got to do is talk to Ms. Daggett out there, and she'll understand, and she'll be able to relay those things. So oftentimes when government funds programs, the accountability measures that keep the outcomes moving forward and progressing are lost, right? It becomes a matter of just funding these things. We don't do that. We monitor our programs on a semi-annual basis. We look at their spending, we look at their outcomes, and while we don't immediately shut programs down if they're not meeting their needs, we work with them because we want them to succeed. But in the end, if they don't, we take that money back and we go somewhere else. It is not one of these things where we just sit and just keep funding and funding and funding. There is a whole process around measuring accountability that keeps our system fresh. It keeps us lively, it keeps us relevant, and it keeps us meeting the needs of the community. So with that, I would like to stop and say we hope that you will endorse issue 8. It's on the March 19th primary ballot. And of course, I don't have to tell you, it's now is more than ever, with the impact on the COVID environment, impacting seniors, impacting youth. Suicide rates are up, isolation is up. We really need these funds so we can go after and address those issues. So with that, I will stop and be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Mayor, I do have one question. If an individual is in need of services, how do they get in touch with you, or how are you matched?
So there's a number. You'll know the agencies that we fund, Harbor, Unison, Zeph Center. Those are fairly common names. But one of the coolest things that we've created over the last couple of months is we actually created this app called Local Help Now. If you received our packet through Leslie, right? I think it's page 8. There's a QR code that you can actually scan. It's page 9. And it creates an app. And if you wanted to give me your cell phone, I could just text it to you right now. And it's on your phone forever then. And people in the in the privacy of their own home, can find out where they want to go for services. Otherwise, you can just call our crisis support line, which is 24/7, 419-904-CARE.
That's on page 10.
That's on page 10, yeah, thank you. So we take accessibility very personal, right? Every family has somebody in their network, you know. Maybe it's a neighbor, maybe it's an employee, maybe it's, you know, your brother, your sister, your mother, somebody is in need of our services. Nobody's immune. And so we take accessibility very seriously. And we like to put those types of tools in your hands so that you can make the best decision for you and your family.
You must have been very clear in your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And we take criticism too. Every year, every time we come out, we're trying to improve this. So if you have any comments, we'd love to hear it.
Because of the shortness in time of the approaching election, which is 2 weeks from tomorrow, we have had the law director prepare and have just distributed resolution number 3, if city council wishes to consider an official endorsement for issue 8. I'm not trying to railroad it, but to endorse it 2 weeks from tonight would be too late.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hanum.
just note for the record that the Hanum household votes absentee, and we've already voted for you. So you're ahead.
Thank you.
You know, we do have a policy about endorsements. We're outside of time for endorsements, but but I'm comfortable moving forward with this, so long as we all recognize that it's a policy. It's not a rule, it's not an ordinance. And I think under the circumstances, I'm perfectly comfortable moving forward with the resolution. And Leslie, thank you for preparing the resolution.
Ms. Bryant, if the will of council is to move forward mechanically, would we need to modify the agenda to add resolution 3? How would that work?
We can just introduce it as part of the presentation, just following the presentation, we distributed it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Other council members?
I'm comfortable.
All right. Who would like to introduce resolution 3?
As a representative to Sylvania Prevention Alliance, I would like to introduce this resolution to council. I move to introduce by title only this resolution number 3-2024, a resolution of the council of the city of Sylvania supporting the 10-year 1.0 mill levy for the Mental Health and Recovery Services Board of Lucas County. I move passage of resolution number 3-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for passage of resolution number 3, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and resolution 3, 2024 is enacted.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
That's why I was struggling.
Do you want to tell them that we have it?
We, Scott, so you can take this with you. We're signing it right now.
Thank you for those who came in support of this evening.
Sign a second one. For your records. All right. We are moving on to agenda item 7, which is to address pending and potential litigation. And I'm gonna have to ask everybody else to leave the council chamber. The clerk of council will bring it to you out in the
I'll
hallway.
meet you out there.
Thank you for being
Thank you
here
again,
this evening.
Scott. Good to see you. Yes.
We have to move.
Yes, is there a motion to go into executive session committee of the whole?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We do, we need a roll call. was taken during the meeting, and there's no action to be taken at this time as a result of the executive session. So we are ready to resume the agenda with agenda item 8, and invite Mr. Shaw to the podium. Agenda item 8 has to do with the Angola, Frankfurt, Silica, Summit, Maplewood, Erie Street resurfacing project, which is a joint project with the Lucas County Engineers Office. We're not working on Frankfurt Road.
Yep. Very good, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the introduction. This should look familiar. This was in front of you at your last council meeting to approve the joint cooperation agreement. We'd like to quickly advance into engineering design to keep pace with our schedule for it. Feller Finch is well-versed on how to do resurfacing projects, especially our joint co-op ones with Lucas County. There's a specific format that kind of goes with that, and having been schooled how to do that for a couple of projects now, they're well fit. They have provided us with a proposal in the amount of $21,400 to provide us the necessary construction plans for the resurfacing effort. So I would recommend, happy to entertain any questions that Mr. Council
Mr. Shaw, is this just for our portion of this project, I assume?
That's correct, yeah.
Otherwise, that looks like an awful light
Yeah.
charge.
These are fairly simplistic plans, so the fee is probably less than usually what you're seeing, but like I said, they have some economy of scale of how to do as well.
Not complaining about the low fee, I'm just asking a question.
County's responsible for theirs, we're responsible for ours.
All right, you have in front of you ordinance 29, 2024 to hire Feller Finch. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 29-2024, accepting the proposal of Feller Finch Associates, Inc. to provide professional engineering services for the Angola, Frankfurt, McCord, Silica, and Summit resurfacing project, appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $21,400, and I would move passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
Moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 29, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 29, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item 9. This is right-of-way acquisition for Room Road, Ravine Drive, and Flower Hospital. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This has been in the works for a good 6 months, coordinating with Flower Hospital's maintenance group, their administrators. This is the last piece of the puzzle for right-of-way acquisition on this project. We secured the two on the west side of Haroon Road last year. So we have come to an agreement on all of the things that need to happen with this property. This temporary easement may look a little bit different as it has a planned letter of intent that's with it. So it specifically describes what we're responsible for in terms of irrigation systems, with lighting, with a lot of things that go with the new drive on their property. So this is the last one on the project. We have come to an agreement for the 1.858 acres that is necessary to build their new drive in the amount of $101,215. We had anticipated this expense in this budget. I'd be happy to entertain any questions members of council may have.
Hearing none, we do have in your council packets ordinance 30, 2024. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 30, 2024. Accepting a temporary construction easement from Crestview of Ohio, Inc., now known as ProMedica Continuing Care Services Corporation, for the Haroon Road and Ravine Drive intersection improvement project, dedicating a temporary easement for public purposes, appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $101,215, and I move passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
Moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 30, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 30, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Agenda item 10 has to do with McCord Road improvements. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the last council meeting, as you may recall, we had American Structure Point on the agenda for construction management services specific to the Main Street project. With that same letter of interest that we had sent out, we asked for all three projects, including Main Street, this one here from McCord Road, as well as Oakland, which will be the next agenda item up. But we have come to an agreement with American Structure Point on construction management services. As a reminder, this is an ODOT LPA project, so there are specific requirements and documentation that go with managing one of those projects. So their proposal is $46,356 to provide those services. Again, this will be a very short project. The actual physical work for resurfacing McCord Road is 3 to 4 weeks. So we don't anticipate a whole lot of construction management services, but still required for an ODOT LPA project. I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Meaning that it needs to be an ODOT certified firm
That's
providing
exactly right.
services.
That's exactly right.
Mayor, I just note that in the memo, the date of the meeting is referred to as January 16th, 2022. That's a typo. It's 2024, and we ought to fix the record going forward.
That's the
It's
first
on the next
sentence.
one too, yeah.
All right.
It's the same on 11A as well.
All right. Let's make that correction in the record. I don't think you need to vote on that.
No, we don't. I just want the public record to be correct.
That's Mr. Haller's letter. All right. There's no questions. We do have proposed ordinance 31, 2024 to accept the proposal for American Structure Point. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 31, 2024 by title only, accepting the proposal of American Structure Point, Inc. to provide construction management services for the McCord Road Improvement Project, appropriating funds therefore in an amount not to exceed $46,356, and I move passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
Moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 31, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 31, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Agenda item 11 has to do with the Oakland Court Improvement Project. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The last one here for American Structure Point, the third project listed in their letter of interest request. This one is in the amount of $72,208. A little bit different with this one. We anticipate Oakland Court to take about 8 to 10 weeks to finish. Construction scheduled to start mid-August of this year. So the fee's up a little bit, but again, not as much paperwork that goes with the ODOT project, but still scope services here to have their eyes on a full reconstruction project like this. So happy to entertain any questions.
The first sentence in Mr. Aller's letter needs to be updated to 2024 and 2022. You do have ordinance 32, 2024 to accept this proposal. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 32, 2024 by title only, accepting the proposal of American Structure Point, Inc. to provide construction management services for the Oakland Court Improvement Project, appropriating funds therefore in an amount not to exceed $72,208, and I move passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
Moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 32, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 32, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. On to the second page of our agenda. Agenda item 12 has to do with storm sewer payment agreement. You want to address this, Mr. Shaw? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is for a property on Roan Road. The address is included in some of the documentation here, but this showed up during winter months, and so just to give everybody kind of a little tutorial on what an emitter is if you're not sure. Basement waterproofing contractors sometimes will use these devices to relieve sump pumps in your basement. A lot of times in many of our homes, they're connected to the storm sewer systems that are available in the road. In this particular case, the basement waterproofing contractor did not do due diligence to see what was available to him. So instead, they run it outside the perimeter of the home, and somewhere in the yard, they'll put a device that sits at grade. And then once the sump pump turns on, the top of it will pop up, and then water will discharge to surface. So again, if you have sandy soils, sometimes it works. In Sylvania, not so much. We have a lot of clay. So in particular instances like this, especially in winter months when your top surface is frozen, you you get water spilling all over the place. And then here, it was causing icing conditions on the roadway. They didn't have sidewalks on Rome, but lots of ice on the road. We'd have to go out, spread a lot of salt to get it to go. We have talked with the owner quite a bit about how to do it, where to take this discharge to. We have a specific section of our code in 929 that talks about clean water connections and where those can go. Those can go to a natural outlet or to an outlet approved by the director. In this case, none of that happened. So what we are looking to do here is make sure this goes to an approved outlet by the director. So we've gotten a quote to do the work. We understand what it's gonna cost. We've talked with the homeowner about it. They do not have the funds to pay for that outright, around $4,000-ish. So this is a payment agreement with the owner where this would be put on their utility bill in monthly payments. The amortization schedule is included in your packets. It's about $70 a month additional.
Mr. Shaw, where is that point connection going to, sanitary or a storm?
Cannot go to sanitary, that's code as well, so it has to go to an approved storm sewer. Okay. About 100 feet away, so there's a little bit of work to get it there, but it has to be connected.
Okay, that's it. You can look at the amortization at $70.72 a month, put on their utility bill for 5 years. It is a very favorable interest rate.
Yeah, 1.85%, I believe. Yeah.
All right, we do have ordinance 33, 2024 to accept entering into this installment payment agreement. Mr. McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 32-2024, accepting the proposal of American Structure Point, Inc. to provide construction management services for, I'm sorry.
We're up to 12 feet.
Ordinance number 33-2024, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into an installment payment agreement for the storm sewer tap fee, connection fee, and service line for the property located at 5744 Roan Road, Sylvania, Ohio. I move for passage of ordinance number 33-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 33, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 33, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Agenda item 13 has to do with improvements at the Plummer Pool, specifically the Plummer Pool bathhouse and equipment room. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you guys know, from last year, we did a small improvement at Burnham Park in coordination with Sajard with the covered structures that are there. That project has since been completed, but moving on to the larger piece of the project, which as the mayor alluded to, is improvements to Plummer Pool. Two kind of specific areas of improvements to that. One is improvement of their pumping system and filtration devices required for the pool. In terms of rough numbers, about $75,000 of cost to fix the pump room that's in that. And then the balance of that, of the $544,000 that's there, is for the renovations of the bathhouse itself. Okay. So 55% of that total project cost we have available in grants, $300,000. The city portion of the project is $150,000 plus or minus, and then Sajard for the $94,000. So what we're looking forward to do here is move into a joint cooperation agreement with Sajard that outlines those costs. They have indicated they want to move forward as quickly as they can with the pump room system effort, and that would be hopefully before pool season starts. Cross our fingers, we can get materials on order that quickly. The balance of that would happen after the pool season is finished, and then we would work on the bathhouse improvements after the pool season was finished.
Mrs. Westfall, any comments about this agreement?
No, I think that certainly Sajard has reviewed this and approved it. Sajard's really grateful to the city for your assistance with the $300,000 grant and now the help to make sure this all gets accomplished. I don't know how many of you have been to Plummer Pool lately, but it's very clear that it needs these things. It needs the pump room to be updated. Fortunately, some time ago, the mayor encouraged us to go over and look at that pump room. It's been probably 3 or 4 years now. It's clear that it needs help,
This has been in
and
the works for several years.
Yeah.
It's gone through the state capital improvement budget application process, which is 2 years ago. And I had made a commitment, and city council agreed to it, to try and get the pool and the bathhouse and its equipment in shape before turning it entirely over to State Yard for operation.
they're grateful for that.
And this is.
And
living
this
up
is
to
it
that.
happening, yep. So, all good.
All right.
Thank you.
I do have one question, Mr. Shaw. It sounds like the cost listed is comprehensive of all the enhancements here. But there's a sentence in the last paragraph that says, Service Department will be back before council for approval of the remainder of the project. Are there additional phases to come or additional costs?
Where was that at, Mr. McCann, so I know where you're at?
It's the start of it's the last paragraph. Mr. Alex.
Oh, okay.
I think what he's referring to, and I'm not sure, I'll let Mr. Shaw think about it. The first phase of the project is to get the pump replaced. The next phase is gonna happen after the summer swim season, and we'll have to approve a contract with a contractor to do that work. I don't think it's additional price.
Yeah, Mayor, you're exactly
Money
right.
is allocated here already.
This is just joint cooperation agreement, so it's similar with the resurfacing project. You outline the project costs. We obviously have to go to bid with the work and come back and get, those approvals and stuff. Yeah. Yep.
And I encourage this to get done as quickly as we can. We don't want that pool not starting up on a hot Memorial Day.
Right.
And television reporter coming to the mayor's house to interview him as to why not.
Well, you'll have a good answer.
Speak to the contractor, all right? Okay, we do have ordinance 2034, 2024 to enter into this joint cooperation agreement. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 34-2024 and read by title only, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into a joint cooperation agreement on behalf of this city of Sylvania with the Sylvania Area Joint Recreation District, SADARD, relative to the Plummer Pool Improvement Project. I move passage of ordinance number 34-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Moved and seconded for passage of ordinance 34, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 34, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. We're now up to agenda item 14. And this is an amendment to our agreement with Sylvania Compost and Recycling, also known as A&J. They've, since last fall, have been accepting our leaves and other green waste material for a fee of $50,000 a year. And that's because Toledo Memorial Park asked us to withdraw from their property north of the Michigan line, which we have done and which has been cleaned up. And which it looks like we're going to actually save money doing it this way. I'll let Mr. Shaw describe what this amendment is.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good introduction for that. So this would be our second amendment to our agreement with Sylvania Compost. Obviously, our first one was to establish the agreement. The second one extended the terms out of 1 year to another 2 years beyond that. This one regards a piece of equipment that the city owns at the site. It's our shredder. It's a very valuable piece of equipment when you obviously run a compost site like we did. There's no need for us to keep the piece of equipment, and we've been working with Sylvania Compost on what the value of this piece of equipment would be and how we could potentially work that into our agreement. And what we came up with was we came up with this would be about a $50,000 piece of equipment. As the mayor alluded to, our annual agreement with them is around $50,000. So what this amendment will do was in years May 2024 through May 2025, no payment is due to them. In the value of the compost shredder makes up that value. And then once that is complete, beginning in June 2025, to finish out our agreement that was approved in the first one through September 30th, 2026, our annual payments would resume in the amount of $52,020. So basically, you're getting a year of service for the value of the shredder.
And
this is possible through accounting measures?
Yeah, well, we'll take the equipment off our insurance list and all that, and no longer be the owners, obviously.
Okay. We have ordinance 35, 2024 to enter into this amendment to our existing agreement. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 35-2024, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into a second amendment to the city's agreement with Sylvania Compost and Recycling LLC to provide green yard waste drop-off from September 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2026. I move for passage of ordinance number 35-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 35, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 35, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. And item 15. This is a change in the personnel structure and has to do with the retirement of Kevin Aller. I am requesting an overlap for a new employee, which will be the new deputy service director, to have some time under his belt with the current team of Kevin Aller and Joe Shaw before Kevin Aller retires and Joe Shaw is promoted to the service director. Mrs. Brining, have I?
Thanks, Mayor. You did a great job. I think that encompasses it. I know it's a little confusing with the creation of the Deputy Director of Public Service 1. This is consistent with what we've done in the past with overlap positions. And I don't know, Mr. Shaw, I don't know if you have anybody in mind. This position hasn't been filled yet, so we just want to have the salary set so that we can advertise and get good candidates.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, excuse me, so there's not a person identified yet?
No.
And are these salaries falling in line with what they had been?
Yes, they're not increases.
Based on what we do every year?
Correct, yeah.
Mr. Aller will remain our service and safety director through the end of May and have the authority that goes along with that. And I will appoint Mr. Shaw to assume those duties June 1st. And again, I think it is worth the expenditure to have Joe's replacement as deputy service director on board for a few months ahead of that transition. And that is not unprecedented for us to do.
A couple of questions. Presuming this passes, Mr. Shaw would become Director of Public Service 1?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay, and since that's the one that's going away.
Yeah.
And second, in regards to this person who would become the deputy, where are we at? Is there going to be a posting? What's the mechanics of that position being filled? Because it sounds like a long time between now and June 1st, but it's really not when you start
It's not a
talking
long
to
time.
potential candidates and going through that process.
You're exactly right. It's not much time. So yeah, we want to get started on this immediately. So yeah, it'll be an advertised position and we'll look for a candidate that way.
Joe has already been working on this for about a month and we're to the point where he's going to post it. Further questions? All right, we have ordinance 36, 2024. This is a personnel issue. Mrs. Westphal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 36-2024, revising the administrative, departmental, and divisional organization of the city and the codified ordinances thereof by amending Sylvania Codified Ordinance Section 127.01, Director and Deputy Director by adding a Deputy Director of Public Service 1 position from March 5, 2024 through May 31, 2024, at which time said Deputy Director of Public Service 1 position shall be eliminated. amending Sylvania Codified Ordinance Section 139.03E3 to set the salary of the Deputy Director of Public Service 1 at $115,673 annually, and the Director of Public Service at $127,182 annually, commencing June 1st, 2024. I move passage of ordinance number 36-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for passage of proposed ordinance number 36, 2024, emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 36, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. We are now up to agenda item 16. This is for the purchase of a police division vehicle. This will be a frontline vehicle on road patrol and is in the budget. You have a letter here from Mr. Aller. Chief, can you address this for us a little bit?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We currently have a 2014 Ford Explorer that has been removed out of our road patrol and placed into community affairs. It's 10 years old with 151,000 miles on it, so we're kind of at end of life for that vehicle. After speaking with our mechanic, it's recommended that we remove that vehicle from the fleet, so that would actually, the 2025 would be a replacement. It would go into the front line on the road patrol, and we would select a vehicle that is approximately 3 or 4 years old, that's high in mileage but not over, and we could extend the life of that vehicle by putting it into a position in community affairs, just the same as this vehicle has done, and extend the life to the city.
All right, very good explanation. Questions for the chief? Again, this is in our budget. The amount to purchase the vehicle is $46,595.94, but does not include the approximately $12,000 to equip the vehicle once we have it. Any anticipation of when we were, there have been some pretty long lead times in the last year or two.
I'm just hoping the order does not get canceled. We have seen that in the past couple of years too, so I'm just holding out hope that everything goes smoothly and we'll have a new vehicle this year, yeah.
We've had some that have taken more than a year to get this. Okay. We do have ordinance 37, 2024 to purchase this police department vehicle. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 37, 2024, and read by title only. Authorizing the mayor and director of finance to accept the proposal of Bauman Ford Oregon LLC for the purchase of one new 2025 Ford Explorer for the Sylvania City Police Department, appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $46,595.94. I move for passage of ordinance number 37, 2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 37, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 37, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Agenda item 17 is the street banner application from Lawrence University. You can see the proposed banner. They put this up in the past. Congrats, Lawrence graduates. It's a requirement of the legislation that this come to city council for approval.
Will this be subject to our new fees or no?
This is our.
The old fees? Okay. Okay, yeah, sorry.
All right. There's no questions. We do have ordinance 38, 2024 to approve this. Mr. King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move adoption of ordinance number 38-2024, and I will read by title only. Approving the banner application of Lawrence University, authorizing the zoning administrator to indicate such approval on behalf of the city of Sylvania. And I move adoption of ordinance number 38-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
It's moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 38, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 38, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Agenda item 18 is to enter into a First Amendment for our joint economic development agreement. Mr. Sanford.
Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna refer back to, Law Director Brining to get us started on this. She's done most of the legwork on this at this point, but I can fill in on any of the details.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a new territory. It's on Central Avenue, and attached to the back of the agreement, you can see a map of the proposed. It's just a shopping center at this point. We don't have firm estimated numbers yet, but we did just want time is kind of a essence on this. But we did want to get the resolution of intent passed and get the hearing date set. So the percentages did change, but however, they are in accordance with the original annexation agreement that City Council authorized. So for this JED, if you remember the oak leaf JED, we split the net evenly with the township. This one is a 25%, 75% split in favor of the township. The maintenance fund did increase to 20% rather than 10% in the other agreement. But other than that, the terms are good, and I think it's a very positive step and continues our cooperation with the township.
The map that's in the agreement, this is property out in front of the old Giant Eagle store.
Oh, okay.
Any further explanation, Mr. Sanford?
What I can follow up with, we'll get you the names of the potential businesses and the projection of what we think the income tax collected will be, and then how that will be divided, what we hope to realize from that. But it's still pretty early to determine what those numbers are gonna be. But excited about the possibility of adding more property into our JED.
All right, we do have a resolution to enact this evening to allow this to move forward. It is Resolution 2, 2024. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce Resolution 2, 2024, and read by title only. A resolution of the Council of the City of Sylvania declaring its intent to enter into a First Amendment to the Joint Economic Development District Agreement, add areas to the Joint Economic Development District. I move for passage of Resolution 2, 2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for passage of Resolution Number 2, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and Resolution 2, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. We are now up to it. All right, we want to set a public hearing date of April 15th. That's a significant day. 2024. I'm just going to look at my calendar. Looks like we did something else on that. Oh, I guess not.
Okay, one thing I have. Check I got it right.
Okay. What time
Lucky
would you
man.
propose? 7:15, law director proposes.
So I'll make a motion to set a public hearing for 7:15 PM on Monday, April 15th, 2024, here in council chambers.
Second.
Moved and seconded to set a public hearing date for this First Amendment to the JED Agreement of April 15th, 2024 at 7:15 PM here in council chambers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and the clerk is ordered to publicize that date. Now we're up to agenda item 19, then and now certificates. Mr. Schroyer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, these are the then and now certificates for the last 3 months. These are all purchases that were included in the budget that was passed. They've all gone through all the director approval that any purchase would go through. They're just a little out of order because it could be an emergency or the dollar amount of the purchase just isn't known until we get the invoice. This is what the auditors have asked us to do, and I ask for your approval.
Just to reemphasize, there are no new expenditures in here. These are budgeted items.
Correct.
Okay, what we need is a motion to approve this. Mr. Fry,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion to approve the then and now certifications from Mr. Schroyer's memo dated March 4th, 2024 for the expenditures over $3,000 between November the 27th, 2023 and February 26th, 2024.
and moved and seconded to approve these then and now certificates. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 20, committee reports. 20A is zoning and annexation committee meeting held this evening at 7:15. Mr. Hayman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was an annexation and zoning committee meeting called to order at 7:15 this evening. And in attendance were all members of the committee, Bryce Hanson, Lindsay Stowe, Mary Westfall, and I as chair. Others present included Brian McCann, Mark Fry, Patrick Richardson, Mayor Stowe, Leslie Brining, and Chief Miller, and there were others as well. The meeting was called to introduce the Sylvania special event policy and block party permit application. The committee received a presentation from Chief Miller. This policy and the permit application constitute a comprehensive formalization of existing permit procedures with clarification and updating of the fee structures to provide appropriate cost reimbursement to the city for the actual costs of the covered events. There was a motion to approve the policies and to advance legislation at tonight's meeting, which passed unanimously. And the meeting was adjourned at 7:32 p.m.
As a result of your meeting, we did distribute proposed ordinance 39, 2024 to approve this, if you care to do that tonight.
That's what the committee wished, and so, Mr. Mayor, if it's all right, I will move adoption of ordinance number 39-2024, and I will read by title only, adopting the City of Sylvania Event Handbook and the City of Sylvania Block Party Permit Application Form, amending section 311.02, parades and assemblages, block parties of the Sylvania Codified Ordinances, 1979 is amended, amending section 1519.02, and I move adoption of ordinance number 39-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 39, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 39, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Are there any other committee reports to be made at this time? Or for agenda item 21, any committee referrals? Hearing none, we'll move on to the two added agenda items. One is a report on the autism process going through our employees. Mr. Sanford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to report, and I brought this to the council, you approved it, that we would become a certified autism center. It's going great. We have over 70% of people that have taken and passed all the requirements. We should, looks like we're on track to wrap that up pretty quick. The police department's 100%, everybody in their department has taken it and passed. So I just wanted to thank and give you that update. And when we do reach the point that we've all, of what is needed for the certification, we'll have some publicity about that. I'll put together a press release, and again, it'll be something we'll be able to advertise that the city is certified. So that was just a quick update, and I'll keep you posted on any other developments there.
Thank you. Agenda item 23 is a report of a naturalization ceremony. Mr. Sandberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On March 13th, Southview High School is having the naturalization ceremony there at 9 a.m. It's going to last about an hour. Just wanted to remind, I've heard Mr. Fry's not able to make it. The mayor's going to attend. Marcus, I believe, is attending, and Mrs. Westfall, you were checking the time. It did just before, if you are able to go, just let me know tonight, or let me know before you go tonight, because they're going to have a program. They want to put your names in the program. Okay, Mr. McCann can go. Anybody else, just let me know.
All right, thank you. That brings us to the end of our scheduled agenda items. Are there any additional items to come before council at this time? There is a police division drug forfeiture report from Chief Miller. There's a very big number on there. We don't need to advertise that. But you might want to take a look at that. If there's no further items to discuss, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and this council stands adjourned until its next regularly scheduled meeting 2 weeks from tonight on March 18th at 7:30 p.m. I would like to remind you, at 6:45, we will have our official council portrait scheduled. And we stand adjourned.